Teddy Swims appeared on Today with Jenna and Friends, expecting a lighthearted conversation about his soulful rise in the music industry. But what unfolded instead left audiences stunned, dressed in his signature casual-style hoodie shades. In Hartensley Vulnerability, Teddy was ready to promote his latest album, a deeply personal project filled with raw emotions and real-life stories. The segment started cheerfully, with Jenna Hager praising his powerful voice and the unique way he blends genres. But things took a sharp turn when a question came out of left field. Jenna, perhaps trying to stir engagement, brought up tabloid rumors about Teddy's mental health struggles and framed them as a marketing tactic. "Do you ever feel like the pain becomes part of the brand?" she asked with a smile that didn't match the gravity of the question. Teddy's demeanor changed instantly, not with anger, but with a heavy pause. "That pain isn't a brand," he said slowly. "It's my life." The atmosphere shifted. Jenna tried to walk the comment back, but doubled down with another misstep, suggesting that artists these days lean on trauma for attention. The remark, seemingly offhand, struck Teddy like a slap. He removed his mic, stood up calmly and said, "I share what I've survived because it helps people feel less alone, not because it sells albums." Then he walked off the set, leaving Jenna and her co-hosts speechless as the cameras abruptly cut to a commercial break. Within minutes, social media was flooded with clips of the moment. Hashtags like #Teddy deserved better and #NotYourTraumaTrend trended as fans and fellow artists rallied around him. Support poured in from across the entertainment world, with musicians like Lizzo Hozier and Demi Lovato praising Teddy for drawing a line between expression and exploitation. The conversation shifted quickly from the specifics of the walk-off to a larger dialogue about how media treats artists who are open about mental health. Many argued that platforms like Today often invite guests to be vulnerable only to sensationalize their pain. By the next day, Today with Jenna and Friends issued a brief statement, calling the moment a misunderstanding, but it didn't help. Viewers noted how Teddy remained composed throughout. Never raising his voice or disrespecting anyone, he simply refused to let someone reduce his truth to a soundbite. In a heartfelt Instagram post the next evening, Teddy shared a message with his fans. "Your story is sacred. If someone tries to twist it for headlines, walk away." I did. That line struck a chord far beyond music fans. It became a mantra for anyone who's ever felt used or misunderstood. For Teddy Swims, the moment wasn't a breakdown, it was a breakthrough. He reminded people that being real doesn't mean being available for public consumption. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is walk away from a seat you were never meant to stay in. In the days following Teddy Swims' abrupt departure from Today with Jenna and Friends, the media buzz didn't die down. In fact, it intensified. Major outlets dissected every second of the clip. From the slight shake in Jenna Hager's voice after he walked off to the way the camera lingered awkwardly on the empty seat before cutting to commercial. But beyond the tabloid coverage, something deeper was happening. A public reckoning. Now, viewers who normally tuned in for feel-good stories and celebrity fluff were forced to confront the uncomfortable truth about how trauma is often commodified in entertainment. Think pieces began flooding in, questioning whether daytime talk shows were truly safe spaces or just polite facades covering exploitative patterns. Within 48 hours, Jenna issued a longer apology during the next live episode, saying, "I didn't handle that moment with the care it deserved. I'm learning from it." While some applauded the accountability, others noted it came only after the backlash and that Teddy had already carried the weight of that awkward, triggering moment alone. But Teddy didn't fire back. He declined interviews. Instead, he let the silence and the support from his fans speak for him. Concertgoers began chanting his name with more intensity, not just for his talent, but for his integrity. At a sold-out show in Atlanta, he broke his silence on stage with a single sentence before singing his opening song, "I'm here to give you music, not let anyone steal my story." The crowd roared, and in that moment, it was clear that his walk-off hadn't weakened his career, it had solidified his legacy. What began as a tense moment on daytime television soon transformed into a watershed event in the entertainment world. Teddy Swim's choice to leave the Today with Jenna and Friends wasn't just a reaction, it became a ripple that shifted the tone of industry. Conversations around artist vulnerability and media responsibility, while publicists and producers scrambled behind the scenes to do damage control. Fans and mental health advocates took the reins, turning Teddy's quiet stand into a viral message of empowerment. Social media became a mosaic of personal stories, tweets, and TikToks poured in from people who had felt similarly dismissed or reduced to a narrative they didn't control. One fan's message went especially viral. Teddy walked out so we'd all know it's okay to protect our peace, no matter who's watching. Mental health professionals even praised his exit in articles and interviews, calling it a live model of self-advocacy. Universities added the segment to communications, syllabi under a new unit. When vulnerability becomes currency. And as the conversation widened, many began questioning not just talk show hosts, but the entire machine behind public storytelling. Who gets to ask the questions, okay? And who gets to walk away? Asterisk at the heart of it all, Teddy Swims remained grounded, refusing to let the moment define him while still acknowledging its weight. He continued his tour, showing up for fans with more emotional resonance than ever. And his album sales spiked not from sympathy, but from solidarity. A few weeks later, he released a surprise single inspired by the experience, titled Not For Sale. The song featured lyrics that cut through the noise. You don't get to shape my scars just to fill your TV time. I sing for healing, not for ratings. This voice is still mine. The track hit streaming platforms with thunderous response, reaching millions within days. Critics praised it not just for its soulful depth, but for its raw truth. And while Jenna continued hosting, noticeably more cautious and measured in tone, the energy around celebrity interviews had already changed. Artists began speaking more openly about setting boundaries with media, and networks began facing new standards of accountability. In the end, Teddy didn't just walk off a show, he walked into a new chapter for performers everywhere, proving that dignity doesn't have to be loud to be revolutionary. Asterisk, Teddy Swims. Quiet decision to walk off the Today with Jenna and Friends. Set wasn't a PR stunt, a breakdown, or a dramatic diva move. It was a carefully drawn line that signaled a seismic cultural shift. As the days turned into weeks, the narrative evolved from that single awkward exchange into something far more lasting and meaningful. His walkout became a reference point in discussions about emotional consent and the evolving expectations of public figures. Commentators across podcasts, YouTube panels, and cultural columns began questioning how much of an artist's private life should be considered fair game, especially in an era where pain is often treated as performance. Some media outlets tried to reframe the event with misleading headlines, but audiences had already decided Teddy Swims hadn't just walked away from a show, he had reclaimed his voice. Young musicians, writers, and influencers began tagging him in posts thanking him for giving them the courage to opt out of uncomfortable interviews or decline invasive collaborations. A viral campaign started online, dubbed #TeddyTaughtMe, where people shared their own stories of choosing mental wellness over public approval, dignity over compliance. Suddenly, Teddy Swims was no longer just a voice behind the music, he was a movement. Asterisk, meanwhile, Teddy's professional presence grew stronger in the wake of his exit. His following surged as more people discovered not only his music, but his message. Without giving further interviews or public statements about the incident, he managed to say more through his actions than most celebrities do with a press tour. At his shows, he began dedicating one song each night to the folks learning how to say no. His merchandise began featuring a simple phrase across black hoodies and trucker hats: "Walk when it's time." Fans wore them proudly, not as fashion statements, but as armor. Major media outlets eventually pivoted from criticism to praise, recognizing that Teddy had opened the door for a necessary reckoning in how artists are treated during press appearances. And as other celebrities, from singers to actors to athletes, started referencing pulling a Teddy as shorthand for setting firm boundaries, the singer remained as humble and unshaken as ever. He didn't need to scream, argue, or shame anyone. He had walked away with grace, stood his ground without burning bridges, and reminded the world that authenticity doesn't need an apology. Asterisk.